Hands of the Ripper is sadly not about the actual hands of the dead Ripper pulling themselves off the corpse and then crawling around London like a couple of tarantulas killing people. That would have been friggin' awesome, though. Hi guys, so before we get into it, a very quick disclaimer that you'll find all my other Hammer reviews in my Hammer playlist, and there will be spoilers today for this very old movie. So this is a movie which is not even about the full able-bodied Ripper, never mind his hands. It's more to do with the Ripper's daughter and how she carries on his murderous legacy, albeit she doesn't want to. It's just that she's affected by minuscule changes in light which trigger her into killing people. It's a bit of a silly plot point, to be honest. It's probably the only thing that I would have changed about this had I got my hands on the movie, no pun intended. I'm a little bit sad that the whole movie is not about the main Ripper, because I saw a film when I was a teenager where the main killer was the Ripper, and I kind of hoped that this film was going to turn out to be the one I'd seen all those years ago, but clearly it isn't. We only get the Ripper in the prologue of this, but when I saw him running down the street away from the police at first, if I'd have been an Australian in that moment, I probably would have said, "Oh, you little Ripper!" Sorry, that was absolutely terrible. But yeah, we only get the Ripper very, very briefly. He ducks into a house and kills his own wife to protect his identity, but he does this right in front of his daughter. And the daughter then grows up to be completely traumatized, and she develops this condition that makes her kill just like her dad. But I love that whole opening. It's really classy. Very much reminds me of Argento's Deep Red, this idea of a tragic family incident happening in the sitting room where somebody gets killed and the youngest person there is just forever affected by it and maybe might just turn into a killer themselves. This film was directed by Peter Sasdy. He'd already done some great work with Hammer on Taste the Blood of Dracula and Countess Dracula. So this film was in safe hands with him. And in terms of the actors, we've got Eric Porter playing the main protagonist. He plays a professor who realises what the Ripper's daughter is doing and takes her under his wing and tries to cure her. Angharad Rees plays the actual daughter. I would say that she does a good job with this, but how could she not? Because most of this part requires her to look really blank-faced throughout the entire film, despite the fact that she's basically the lead. I would say the best performance in this film comes from neither of those two aforementioned. I would say it comes from Jane Merrow, who plays the blind in-law of the professor. I don't recall seeing this actress before, but she just looks so sunny and radiant throughout this whole film. She's the happiest person in it, despite the fact that she's blind. She's just smiling all the time. She's great. The only time she doesn't smile in this film is in the very final scene when she's being strangled, but I can just about let her off for that. There are a couple of massive surprises in the first half of the film which really rocked me. So firstly, there's a bedroom scene where three people are having an intense argument, but I didn't expect a murder to happen right then and there, but that's what occurs, and it just really took me back. I was like, whoa. And I guess for some people, the reveal of the murderer would be that scene, but not me. I was completely fooled into thinking that Mr. Dysart was the killer, and I certainly didn't have any knowledge about the film coming in. So that set me up then for the second big surprise later on when Anna suddenly murders the maid. Again, I was like, Jesus Christ, I totally did not expect that at all. I did not even suspect that she was the killer. So that was fantastic. And after that point, the movie moves into slasher film territory for the second half. We get a kill every 10 or 15 minutes or so, and the film finds a certain rhythm. But the kills are great for this sort of movie in this sort of time period, the early 70s, and it's Hammer doing the film. You just don't normally expect it with this studio. Some of these kills are really brutal. So this one woman, she gets a poker through the stomach. It's already come through the door, so she's sort of hooked onto the door kind of a thing, and then she falls off eventually. Her dead body falls off, but it looks great. And there's another woman who gets stabbed with a long needle. It goes through her hand, into her eye, and then eventually the hand comes away, and you can see the mess left by the needle, but really gross stuff, but great stuff at the same time. I mean, these are the sort of kills that would pass mustard in an 80s slasher movie with Tom Savini doing the effects. So hats off to whoever put the kills together in this. There are some really memorable scenes throughout as well, scenes that don't involve murders. I love the seance scene where there's a woman hiding in the cupboard. It's Anna, and she's speaking through a grill to fool everybody into thinking that there's a ghost in the room. It totally wouldn't fool anybody in real life, even back in the era that this film was set. But in the context of this film, just for a bit of fun, I liked the idea that it was fooling everybody. And it's cool that later on in the film, we get to see a genuine fortune teller, just so we get to see both sides of the industry. In the same film, I thought that was kind of nice. It was neat. And the ending is brilliant. In the St. Paul's Cathedral, it's just a brilliant bit of location scouting. It just looks awesome. Even the shots where you can tell that there's a painting in the background, they still look really cool somehow. And yes, it's a doll falling off the balcony at the end, but good luck trying to find a stuntman willing to make that leap with hockey pads. Nobody's going to do that, but great ending, really dramatic as well. There's some great location work throughout the whole film, scenes set at train stations and chapels, and there are street scenes, and the indoor production design looks decent-ish for Hammer. There's one indoor room they've used, Anna's bedroom, where there's like a massive mirror in the middle of the room, and sometimes characters will be talking around this mirror, but you'll be able to see into the mirror objects that are on the other side of the room just from where the camera is. So sometimes in this mirror we can see a fireplace that's on the other side of the room. In one instance we can see a dead body that's on the other side of the room ever so briefly. Just a really good little moment of directorial panache. Unfortunately, the film doesn't quite reach its full potential because the two main characters for me are not properly delved into enough. And I say that despite the fact that I liked both of them. I think Anna's the main problem. I don't like this whole trigger thing with the light. To me, it's just lazy writing. It reminds me of the film Get Out, Jordan Peele's film. That whole thing with the teacups in that movie, making the character just freeze. It was just such an unrealistic thing in an otherwise very believable movie. It's probably the main reason why I'm not such a fan of that film. And it's the same here with the light trigger. I mean, I still like this film more than Get Out, I will say that. What should have happened, I think, is that Anna should have just been naturally psychotic, and I think maybe she should have just killed people in this film whenever she lost her temper, and then we could have seen her struggle with the idea that she can't control this thing because of her genes, and then maybe we would have had the chance to see Angharad Rees do some proper acting, not just this blank-faced stare thing that she does. But of course, that kind of character work would have taken more time with the script writing, and I don't know how quickly they were trying to turn this film around. Pritchard, I didn't understand why he takes Anna in at the beginning of this film. Dr. Pritchard, he's not a professor. It's just really weird to me how he suddenly takes Anna under his wing when he can't possibly know she's a killer yet, and he can't possibly know that she has something that needs curing. So why does he take her in? It doesn't make any sense. I watched the commentary track the night after I watched the movie, and just getting to see the scenes play out again, it got a little bit better for me, but I came to the conclusion that the only good reason for him taking her in is because he secretly likes her, as in fancies her, and wants to get with her in the long run. Now, I know throughout this film he doesn't really give any hint that that's what he's thinking and feeling, but that doesn't mean he's not playing the long game. He could just, set her up in his house, and he's thinking, okay, we'll let a little bit of a rapport build up, and then eventually I'll make my move. And I guess back in those sort of times, it was quite common for wealthy middle-aged men to marry women who were way younger than them. It still happens now, but maybe not so much. But I think that's what this character is all about. And he does kiss Anna on the lips towards the end of the movie, which is a bit weird, given that he's not shown any romantic interest up until then. So I can't help thinking that he's become so desperate by the fact that Anna's doing these killings that he's making one last attempt to get a connection to her by kissing her. He probably hadn't planned to make his move so quick, but he's desperate. He's what else has he got left to try? And of course it ends up costing him his life with the stabbing that he gets in the side for good measure. The relationship between the two characters, Anna and I don't know the guy's first name, I just call him Pritchard. It's just not developed well enough throughout this film. I can only think of one time where they have any kind of laugh together, and that's when they're coming out of the wedding rehearsal. I think there needed to be more scenes where we get to see this relationship build up throughout the film, so that then at the end, when Anna falls off the balcony, it's genuinely more of a tragedy for the audience. This film's 81 minutes. I think it should have been 90. We should have had those extra 9 minutes with just a few more scenes of Anna and Pritchard here and there, and we could have seen him struggle with the knowledge that he secretly likes her, but he can't reveal it yet. And then we would have seen her struggle with the idea that maybe she's trying to resist killing him because she's got these urges, and it could have been some really good stuff in there, but the film's not quite that ambitious. It's just happy enough to be a Victorian era slasher with a few good surprises. I'll quickly show you my version of the film for this. Here is my Blu-ray copy of Hands of the Ripper. It was done by Network, and they've put this in this fantastically thin Blu-ray box. If every Blu-ray came in a box as thin as this, I'd still have so much space left in my Blu-ray cupboard. I'm struggling a bit as it is. Picture quality is fantastic on this, and there are some features. As hinted earlier, there's a commentary track. It's with Angharad Rees, who plays Anna, and horror historians Kim Newman and Stephen Jones. Newman and Jones I've heard on so many commentary tracks. They're really good. This is a cool track. It was recorded back in 2006. Angharad Rees sadly died in 2012. So this, if you get this version of the film, it's a chance to hear her talk about the movie 6 years before she died. There's some other features. There's a trailer. There's some sort of mini documentary called Thriller, Once the Killing Starts. I did not watch that, I confess. There's some image galleries, and there's also a booklet. I think it's about 10 or 12 pages. I love it when booklets come with Blu-rays. So, decent copy of the movie, it's got to be said. I think it cost me, I'm going to say something like £12 or £13, which is fine. Right, let's get to the bag of terror and see what sort of score I'm going to give this movie. So we got 1, 2, 3, still going, not anymore. 3.5 bloody axes out of 5. Pretty good score. I like this film a lot. I can definitely see myself rewatching this in the future. Absolutely recommended if you like Hammer, so get on it. Right, we'll leave it there for today. I'll be back soon. I think my next Hammer review is going to be a horror film called Fear in the Night. Ooh. Until next time, cheerio, bye-bye.